Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
I wish I knew why a girl like you wants to do all the things that you do. I know you want a man, but you should understand that JC ain't D, shouldn't be his fan. You're not just fine, you're out of your mind. And I wrote this rhyme just for your kind. Don't be misled.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Corey Johnson, and welcome to Relationship Management. Today's topic is going to be about immaturity. Immaturity is having the mind of a person that's not fit. You're never ever supposed to try to make something work with a woman when you know for a fact that she's unfit for you. That means incompatible. A lot of these ladies, they look like adults, but they still not only look like a child, how they used to look with their big ass head, but they act like a child too. A lot of them, they act like they don't know better. You know what I mean? Meaning they don't know how to stop being rude to us men, and they keep on, doing immature things such as ignoring us whenever we pour out our heart to you ladies. You come into this psychological immaturity behavior. You will leave us on red, or you just, give us the silent treatment. And if a woman have to act like that, gentlemen, have to act immature, for a fact that she would be the type of person that will always break your heart and give you heartache and give you headaches too. Because an immature person, they don't like to listen. They don't have any understanding, So today I'm coming to you as your teacher, and I'm going to get to the nitty gritty of this, because immaturity is the state of not being fully grown or developed, either physically or psychologically. It can manifest as a lack of wisdom, self-control, or emotional stability, and is often characterized by childish or irresponsible behavior, such as being selfish, impulsive, or unable to take responsibility for one's actions. Usage examples range from immature fruits to emotionally immature adults who act in ways not appropriate for their age. Synonyms include childish, juvenile, and underdeveloped. Examples of immaturity are in fruits. A fruit that has not reached its full size or sweetness is considered physically immature. Lots of grown women, they behind or butt be musty back there. You know what I mean? And they act like they don't have the sense or the immaturity to realize they stink down there before they open their legs and expect you to eat them out down there. And you need to know, to don't let their pretty face make you blind to realizing the type of evilness that they got in them to keep their behind stink. Your behind stink. You have to realize that. You know what I mean? A lot of them don't have the maturity to keep their vagina clean down there. Stupidity is a form of immaturity whenever you say you don't want to use nothing to wash your coochie out down there. A lot of ladies be online saying they don't use soap and they say they don't use douche neither. but they always, complaining about their vagina stinking like onion and smelling like fish down there. Well, that's the reason why, because you are immature. And whenever you judge a woman, you have to test them, you understand, and make sure that they got all their brains. You make sure that they clean down there in their vagina and make sure they keep their behind clean. You know what I mean? So you have to make sure their body is clean and you have to make sure they have close as a pure heart, you know what I mean, and a clean brain, you know what I mean, that functions, you know what I mean, because you don't need a dummy up in your life. You know, the other examples of immaturity is like in children, and infants, crying may be a sign of neurological immaturity, not bad parenting. You know, there's lots of ladies that's grown as adults and you got shit stains be all up in your drawers. You know what I mean? And it be stinking a lot. Your pussy be smelling like onion, it be smelling so very fucking filthy. You know? And whenever you have a woman in your life that be laughing on you, like whenever you be serious than a motherfucker, you know what I mean, and she just start laughing, you know what I mean, or she'll put a laughing face to what you write, that's another sign that she's immature and she's childish. And that's a total turn off. It grieves my fucking spirit, you know. And them type of a woman, the best thing to do is to block them out your life and don't waste any time with them. You know. In adults, emotional, such as overreacting to situations, bullying or needing constant attention, can be signs of emotional immaturity. Like these ladies, they be all online on TikTok, you know what I mean, and they act like they got shifter brains. It look like the only thing they have stuck on their brains is dick. You know what I mean? They be licking their tongue out as though they want to suck a man's cock and that they want to fuck all their male friends. You know what I mean? So that's another sign of immaturity when you got a woman that want to keep all her male friends up in her life. You understand? Instead of being respectful to you, letting her male friends go. You understand? And letting you know that you're gonna be the only one that she's gonna, give attention to. And she's not gonna give attention to them male friends anymore out of respect for you and your feelings. You understand? But if you have a woman that act like she don't have understanding and gonna tell you she's gonna keep her friends, if she got a problem with let her friends go, or you let her nasty ass go and you let them men have her, because you don't need a hoe. You don't need a whore up in your life. Social lacking empathy, difficulty communicating or being unable to compromise can indicate immaturity. A lot of these ladies, they want to be a badass, such as in a negative way. They want to continue to be stuck up in their dirty ways. They would rather to be a witch or rather to be a bitch. You know what I mean? And to be a trick and to be a slut. You know what I mean? And a trailer trash funk that just want all his dick up in their junk. I don't need none of you ladies that act like that. And when you see these ladies online, they are acting like they're a hooker or something. They be shaking all their pussycat, you know what I mean, trying to make your man's dick hard. You know what I mean? I know for a fact you're not my wife. And you don't want nobody like that to try to, you know what I mean, marry or to have a relationship with, because it's obvious that, she rather to be a whore, or a hooker or something. You know what I mean? A lot of these ladies, they do what they got to do because they know they work. They rather to have all these men in front of them smelling their pussy. You know what I mean? So these men can give them tips such as money or cash. They help them with their bills. So you don't need a woman like that. You need a woman that's mature. You know what I mean? Some of these women that, does that, they act like that for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? So what is immature behavior? So for our purposes, immaturity is simply behavior coming from someone who only thinks of herself. In other words, they are self-centered, self-absorbed, selfish, uncaring, feel they are better, think you are different, and so on. How can you tell if someone is emotionally immature? You can tell if someone is emotionally immature by observing their difficulty with responsibility, poor emotional regulation, lack of empathy, and a tendency to be self-centered. They may avoid accountability, shift blame, have trouble handling criticism, and consistently prioritize their own needs over others. Other signs include an inability to communicate effectively about emotions, a need for a constant validation, understand, and impulsiveness in their decisions and reactions. A lot of them rather to have validations from more than one man. You know, the behavior and emotional regulation, poor emotional regulation, they may have temper tantrums. You know what I mean? Or withdraw instead of expressing feelings calmly. A lot of them are holler and scream. You know what I mean? At you, and it could be 2 in the morning, scaring the neighbors enough to make the neighbors call the police. You know what I mean? They get you evicted. The blame shifting, they avoid taking responsibility for their actions and instead blame external factors or, other people. The difficulty with criticism, they become overly defensive, angry, or self-victimizing when giving feedback. Impulsivity, they make rash decisions without considering long-term consequences. And the lack of empathy they have, they struggle to understand or care about how their actions affect others. The self-centeredness, they tend to be self-absorbed and put their own needs and feelings first. The poor communication, they may avoid difficult, conversations, stonewall, or use manipulative tactics. You know what I mean? Like guilt tripping. You know what I mean? You have commitment issues. They may have trouble with long-term commitments. As they fear limiting their freedom. And the lack of accountability. They are unable to self-reflect. On their mistakes or admit when they are wrong. That's other signs of immaturity. The avoidance of responsibility. They may shy away from adult responsibilities. Expecting others to take care of them. Some ladies will make you clean up the whole house and don't want to cook for you. Don't do nothing. You know what I mean? A lot of these ladies don't want to be good. They don't want to impress you. You know what I mean? That's a sign of immaturity. They don't want to make you proud of them. You know what I mean? They just want to keep you very mad and angry. You don't need a person like that. The need for validation, they have too many male friends. You got to let them go. Don't tolerate that bullshit. You know what I mean? With her having all those male friends. Don't let it happen. They may require constant attention with other men and reassurance from others. A good man is looking for a woman that wants to be good and knows how to be good and ready to become a better person. That means to grow the fuck up and accept maturity and responsibility and be a better person. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.